Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be incredibly exciting for coin collectors and treasure hunters alike. In this video, we're going to explore 4 of the most valuable and rare United States Abraham Lincoln 1-cent wheat pennies and old 1-cent coins that could be hiding in your pocket change right now. Many people overlook these small copper coins, but some of them have sold for astonishing amounts of money simply because of their rarity, historical importance, or unique minting errors. From the legendary Lincoln wheat penny to rare coins minted by the United States Mint, these tiny pieces of history could potentially be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more to the right collector. So stay with us until the end of the video as we uncover the fascinating stories, hidden details, and surprising values behind these rare 1-cent coins. And who knows, you might even discover that a coin sitting in your collection right now could be worth a fortune. Let's get started. First up in the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny begins during one of the most important periods in modern history. Minted in 1945, the final year of World War II, this small copper coin represents far more than everyday pocket change. Produced at the United States Mint facility in Denver, the tiny D mint mark beneath the date tells collectors exactly where this coin was struck. At a time when the world was recovering from years of conflict, coins like this circulated through American towns, markets, and military bases, quietly becoming part of everyday life. Many people never realized that decades later, collectors and treasure hunters would carefully study these coins, searching for rare varieties, unusual minting errors, and exceptional preserved examples that could be worth far more than 1 cent. The design of the Lincoln wheat penny itself is one of the most recognizable in American coin history. The obverse side features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose leadership during the Civil War made him one of the most respected figures in American history. This portrait was created by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, and it was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Surrounding Lincoln's portrait are the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 1945, along with the small D mint mark that identifies its production in Denver. The reverse side displays 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, a design that symbolized America's agricultural strength and remained in use for nearly 50 years. What makes the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny fascinating to collectors is not simply its age, but its historical context and the massive number that were produced. In 1945, the United States Mint struck more than 266 million pennies at the Denver facility alone. While this might sound like a huge number, the passage of time has dramatically reduced how many still exist in collectible condition today. Many were lost, melted, damaged, or simply worn down through decades of circulation. Because of this, finding a well-preserved example with sharp details, original luster, and minimal scratches can be surprisingly difficult, which is why collectors carefully examine every coin they find. One of the most exciting aspects of collecting the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny is the possibility of discovering rare minting errors. During the coin production process at the United States Mint, small mechanical mistakes occasionally occurred, creating coins with doubled letters, off-center strikes, or unusual metal compositions. These errors can transform an ordinary penny into an extremely desirable collector's item. Some error varieties from the 1940s have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their rarity and condition. That's why experienced collectors always inspect the lettering, mint mark, and wheat stalk details carefully, sometimes using magnifying glasses or professional grading tools. Condition plays a huge role in determining the value of a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny. In heavily circulated condition, where Lincoln's hair details are worn and the wheat stalks appear flattened, the coin may only be worth a small premium over its face value. However, when a coin survives in uncirculated or mint state condition, the story changes dramatically. Coins with bright red copper surfaces, sharp design details, and minimal marks can sell for significantly higher prices. Professional grading companies, such as Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, evaluate these coins on a numerical scale, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin can become. Another reason collectors are drawn to the Lincoln wheat penny series is its long and fascinating history, which lasted from 1909 until 1958 before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Cent design in 1959. The wheat penny era represents nearly half a century of American history, including the Great Depression, World War II, and the early years of post-war economic growth. Because of this, each coin carries a small piece of the past, connecting collectors to the time when it was minted and circulated. The 1945 D penny is especially meaningful because it was produced during the closing months of the war, making it a small but powerful symbol of that historic moment. Over the years, stories have circulated online claiming that certain 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny coins could be worth thousands or even millions of dollars. While most of these claims are exaggerated, it is true that exceptionally rare varieties or perfectly preserved examples can bring impressive prices at auction. Collectors carefully search rolls of pennies, coin jars, and flea markets hoping to discover a hidden gem that others might have overlooked. The thrill of that search is one of the biggest reasons coin collecting remains such a popular hobby around the world. For people who are just beginning their journey into coin collecting, the 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny is an excellent coin to study and collect. It is old enough to have historical significance, but still common enough that many examples can be found in collections or coin shops. Learning how to identify mint marks, evaluate coin condition, and recognize possible mint errors helps collectors develop valuable skills that can later be applied to more advanced and rare coins. Many experienced numismatists actually started their collections with a simple wheat penny, just like this one. The 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny also attracts attention because of the metal composition used during that era. Unlike the unusual steel cents produced during World War II in 1943, the 1945 pennies returned to the traditional bronze alloy made mostly of copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. This metal gave the coin its warm reddish-brown appearance when newly minted. Over time, however, exposure to air, moisture, and circulation causes the surface to darken, creating the brown or chocolate tones often seen today. Collectors carefully categorize these coins into color designations such as red, red-brown, and brown, and coins that still retain their original bright red luster are considered much more desirable and valuable in the collector market. Another fascinating aspect of the 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny is how it reflects the craftsmanship of early 20th century coin design. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, was groundbreaking when it first appeared because it was the first time a real historical figure was widely featured on a regular circulating U.S. coin. Before this change, American coins mostly displayed symbolic figures like Lady Liberty rather than actual people. By placing Lincoln's dignified profile on the penny, the United States Mint created a coin that combined artistic beauty with historical tribute, turning an everyday object into a miniature monument honoring one of America's most influential leaders. Collectors and historians also appreciate the 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny because it represents a transitional period in the broader story of the Lincoln wheat penny series. Coins from the early 1940s were produced during wartime shortages, when metals were being redirected toward military equipment and supplies. By 1945, the war was nearing its end, and the United States was preparing to enter a new era of economic expansion and global influence. Pennies minted during this year quietly circulated through grocery stores, train stations, and neighborhood shops across the country, unknowingly becoming historical artifacts that would later capture the interest of collectors decades later. So the next time you come across an old penny in a drawer, a jar of spare change, or a family coin collection, take a closer look. You might just discover a 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny hiding in plain sight. That tiny copper coin may have traveled through decades of American history, passed from hand to hand, and survived countless years before reaching you today. While it may look ordinary at first glance, its history, design, and potential collectible value make it a fascinating piece of the past, reminding us that even the smallest coins can hold remarkable stories waiting to be discovered. Next up in the 1951, D. Abraham Lincoln wheat penny begins with the enduring legacy of one of America's most respected presidents, Abraham Lincoln, whose image has appeared on the 1-cent coin since 1909. This small copper coin, commonly known as the wheat penny, carries deep historical meaning and has fascinated collectors for decades. Produced during a period when the United States was experiencing rapid economic growth after World War II, the 1951 D penny represents an important era in American coinage. Struck at the famous United States Mint facility in Denver, This coin carries the small D mint mark beneath the date, indicating its place of origin. While millions of these coins were produced for everyday circulation, certain examples have become extremely valuable due to their condition, rarity, and unique minting characteristics, turning what was once simple pocket change into a treasure eagerly sought by collectors around the world. The design of the Lincoln wheat penny is both elegant and historically symbolic. On the obverse, or front side, the coin features the detailed portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, accompanied by the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 1951. This design was created by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose initials VB originally appeared prominently on early versions of the coin. The reverse side of the wheat penny displays two curved wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America, symbolizing prosperity and the agricultural strength of the nation. This iconic wheat design remained in use for 50 years before being replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, marking the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Because of this transition, the earlier wheatback coins like the 1951 D have become cherished historical pieces that represent a significant chapter in American numismatic heritage. When it comes to mintage numbers, the 1951 D wheat penny was produced in enormous quantities, with more than 625 million coins struck in Denver alone. At first glance, such a large mintage might suggest that the coin should be common and inexpensive. However, the world of coin collecting is far more complex than simple production numbers. Many of these pennies circulated heavily in everyday commerce, meaning that most surviving examples today show significant wear and damage. Coins that remain in pristine, uncirculated condition are far rarer than the original mintage might suggest. For collectors who specialize in wheat pennies, finding a 1951 D coin with strong luster, sharp details, and minimal marks can be surprisingly difficult, which dramatically increases its desirability and market value. Another fascinating aspect of the 1951 D wheat penny lies in the possibility of minting errors and unusual varieties. Occasionally, coins from the United States mint exhibit features such as doubled letters, die cracks, or slightly off-center strikes that make them stand out from ordinary examples. These mint errors are highly prized because they are accidental and therefore extremely limited in number. In some rare cases, collectors have discovered coins with doubled inscriptions or unusual die variations that can significantly increase the coin's value. Such discoveries add excitement to coin hunting, as even a coin that appears ordinary at first glance may hide a rare and valuable variety that could command impressive prices in auctions. The condition of a coin, often referred to as its grade, plays a crucial role in determining the value of a 1951 D wheat penny. Professional grading organizations carefully evaluate coins based on their level of wear, surface quality, and overall appearance. A coin that has circulated heavily may only be worth a few cents or a few dollars, while an uncirculated example with brilliant red copper surfaces could be worth many times more. Collectors especially prize coins that maintain their original red color, a bright copper tone that often fades over time to brown due to oxidation. The difference between a worn brown penny and a sparkling red uncirculated coin can represent a huge jump in value, making condition one of the most important factors in the world of coin collecting. Over the years, certain high-grade 1951 D wheat pennies have achieved remarkable prices at auctions, proving that even a humble 1-cent coin can become a valuable collectible. When coins are preserved in exceptional condition and graded at the highest levels, collectors may compete fiercely to add them to their collections. In some cases, top-graded examples have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on demand and rarity. These extraordinary sales highlight how the coin market values not just age, but also preservation, rarity, and historical significance, turning a simple penny into a fascinating investment opportunity for dedicated numismatists. Beyond its financial value, the 1951 D wheat penny also carries historical significance because it represents the everyday currency used by millions of Americans during the early 1950s. This was a time when the United States was emerging as a global economic powerhouse following World War II, and small coins like the Lincoln cent played an essential role in daily transactions. From buying candy at local stores to paying bus fares, these pennies circulated widely and became part of everyday life. Holding one of these coins today is like holding a tiny piece of history, connecting collectors to the experiences of people who lived during that era. For coin collectors, searching for a valuable wheat penny can feel like a real-life treasure hunt. Many enthusiasts carefully examine rolls of old coins, jars of spare change, and inherited collections in hopes of discovering a rare example hiding in plain sight. Because the Lincoln Wheat Penny series is one of the most widely collected in the world, even beginners can participate in the hunt without needing expensive equipment or rare coins to start with. A simple magnifying glass and a keen eye can sometimes reveal surprising details that transform an ordinary penny into a prized collectible. Another interesting aspect of the 1951 D. Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny is how collectors analyze the smallest details of the coin to determine whether it might be more valuable than a typical example. Experts carefully study the sharpness of Abraham Lincoln's hair, the clarity of the lettering, and the strength of the wheat stalks on the reverse side. Coins that show extremely strong detail with minimal are considered premium pieces and often attract the attention of serious collectors. Even tiny marks, scratches, or discoloration can affect the coin's final grade and price, which is why collectors often store their best coins in protective holders to prevent damage and preserve their condition for many years. Another factor that can influence the value of a 1951 D. Wheat Penny is its original mint luster. When coins are first produced by the United States Mint, they have a brilliant shine that reflects light in a distinctive circular pattern across the surface. This natural shine, often referred to as mint luster, gradually fades as a coin circulates through everyday use. Finding a coin from Denver in 1951 that still retains strong original luster is quite special, because most coins from that era were used heavily in commerce. Collectors are often willing to pay significantly higher prices for coins that still display this beautiful, untouched mint appearance. The popularity of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series also contributes to the continuing demand for the 1951 D issue. Ever since the coin featuring Abraham Lincoln was first introduced in 1909, collectors have been fascinated by its design and history. Over the decades, millions of people have attempted to complete full collections of every date and mint mark in the Wheat Penny series. Because of this widespread interest, even coins that were once common can become surprisingly valuable when collectors compete to find the best possible examples to complete their sets. The 1951 D penny may not be the rarest in the series, but it still holds an important place in many collections due to its historical era and attractive design. It is also worth noting that many valuable coins are discovered completely by accident. People sometimes find rare wheat pennies in old coin jars, inherited collections, or even in everyday pocket change. A person might overlook a small detail such as the mint mark or the coin's unusual color, not realizing that it could be worth far more than 1 cent. Because of stories like these, coin collecting continues to capture the imagination of treasure hunters around the world. The possibility that an ordinary-looking penny could turn out to be a rare collector's item keeps enthusiasts searching through coins with excitement and curiosity. In conclusion, the 1951 D. Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny is far more than just a small copper coin. It represents American history, artistic craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery that defines the hobby of coin collecting. Featuring the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, minted by the United States Mint in Denver, and cherished by collectors across the globe, this penny reminds us that even the smallest objects can hold remarkable stories and surprising value. Whether found in a coin collection or hidden among old pocket change, the 1951 D. Wheat Penny continues to captivate collectors who dream that their next discovery might turn a simple coin into an extraordinary treasure. Next up in the 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent is one of the most interesting coins from the modern era of United States coinage. And although at first glance it may appear to be an ordinary penny, collectors and coin enthusiasts know that certain examples of this coin can hold surprising historical importance and collector value. This coin was struck in 1972 at the famous United States Mint facility located in Denver Mint, which is why the small D mint mark appears just below the date on the obverse side. The 1970s were an important decade for American coinage because the country was experiencing economic changes, rising metal prices, and an increasing interest in coin collecting among the public. Millions of these pennies were produced for everyday circulation. Yet over time, collectors began to notice that some examples contained unusual characteristics, striking quality differences, and minting errors that could make them far more valuable than their face value of just 1 cent. Because of this, the 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent has slowly earned attention among collectors who carefully examine their change in hopes of discovering a rare variety or a perfectly preserved specimen that could be worth much more than expected. The design of the coin pays tribute to one of the most respected presidents in American history, Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait appears on the obverse side of the coin. This iconic design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose initials VB became famous among collectors after the early Lincoln cents sparked controversy when the initials first appeared on the 1909 coins. On the 1972 D penny, Lincoln's profile faces to the right, surrounded by the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" on the left side, and the date along with the Denver Mint mark on the right. The portrait is simple yet powerful, capturing Lincoln's thoughtful expression and making it one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. Collectors admire this design not only because of its artistic simplicity, but also because it represents a piece of American heritage that has circulated through the hands of millions of people for generations. Turning the coin over reveals the famous reverse design known as the Lincoln Memorial, which was introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. What makes this design fascinating is that if you look closely inside the memorial building, you can actually see a tiny representation of the seated statue of Abraham Lincoln that exists in the real monument in Washington, D.C. The inscriptions on the reverse include United States of America, 1 cent, and the national motto, E pluribus unum. This design remained on the penny for nearly 50 years, making it one of the most recognizable reverse designs in American coin history. For many collectors, the Lincoln Memorial reverse symbolizes the connection between everyday currency and national history, reminding people that even a small coin can carry powerful cultural meaning. In terms of composition, the 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent was made primarily of copper, with a composition of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This metal mixture was the standard composition used for United States pennies for many decades before rising copper prices forced a change in 1982 to a copper-plated zinc core. Because of this high copper content, older pennies like the 1972 D have a distinctive reddish or brown tone that collectors often describe as red, red-brown, or brown, depending on how well the original luster has been preserved. Freshly minted coins originally displayed a bright red shine, but over time exposure to air, moisture, and circulation gradually darkened many coins. Today, collectors often search for examples that still retain their original red color because these coins are considered more desirable and can command higher prices in the numismatic market. The mintage of the 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent was extremely large, with more than 2 billion coins produced at the Denver Mint. Because such a huge number entered circulation, the majority of these pennies remain common today and are typically worth only a small premium over face value if they are heavily circulated. However, collectors know that condition plays a huge role in determining value. Coins graded in uncirculated condition, meaning they show no signs of wear and still retain their original mint luster, can be worth significantly more. Professional grading organizations, such as the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, often certify high-quality coins, and a perfectly preserved 1972 D penny graded at the highest levels can attract serious interest from collectors looking to complete high-grade Lincoln cent sets. One of the reasons collectors pay attention to the 1972 D penny is the possibility of minting errors and unusual varieties that occasionally appear in circulation. While the famous double die variety of 1972 is primarily associated with coins minted in Philadelphia, collectors still examine Denver minted coins carefully because small striking anomalies, die cracks, off-center strikes, or other minting irregularities can make a coin unique. Error coins have a special appeal in the collecting community because they represent unexpected moments during the minting process when machinery or dies produced something different from the standard design. These errors transform an ordinary coin into a rare collectible, sometimes worth dozens or even hundreds of dollars depending on the severity and visibility of the mistake. Another factor that can influence the value of a 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent is its overall eye appeal and preservation quality. Collectors evaluate several aspects when determining a coin's desirability, including strike sharpness, surface condition, color, and the presence of marks or scratches. Coins that were carefully stored in rolls, mint sets, or protective holders often survive in much better condition than coins that spent decades circulating in pockets and cash registers. As a result, a coin that appears nearly flawless under magnification can be dramatically more valuable than an average example. High-grade specimens sometimes appear in coin auctions, where enthusiastic collectors compete to obtain the finest examples known. For many people, the most exciting aspect of coins like the 1972 D. Lincoln cent is the possibility that a seemingly ordinary penny could hold hidden value. Coin collectors often encourage beginners to check their spare change, old piggy banks, or inherited coin jars because valuable varieties and high-grade coins sometimes appear in unexpected places. While it is rare to find a coin worth thousands of dollars, the thrill of discovery keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies and carefully studying dates and mint marks. Even if a coin turns out to be common, the process of examining it closely can introduce people to the fascinating world of numismatics and the history behind everyday money that the 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent also holds a special place in the broader story of American coin collecting during the 1970s. This was a time when interest in numismatics was rapidly growing across the United States, and many families began saving rolls of pennies, hoping that one day they might become valuable collectibles. The United States economy was experiencing inflation and rising metal prices, which made people more curious about the coins in their pockets. As a result, collectors began carefully studying pennies from different years and mint marks, including those from the Denver Mint, searching for coins that stood out due to exceptional quality or unusual features. Even though billions of 1972 D pennies were minted, collectors soon realized that finding a perfectly preserved example was much more difficult than expected, especially because most of these coins spent years in heavy circulation. Another fascinating element of the 1972 D penny is the craftsmanship involved in its production at the United States Mint. Each coin begins as a blank metal disc known as a planchet, which is carefully prepared before being struck by powerful presses that imprint the detailed designs of the coin's dies onto the metal surface. During this process, even a slight variation in pressure, alignment, or die condition can create small differences between coins. Some coins may show minor die cracks, slightly off-center strikes, or other subtle characteristics that make them unique to collectors who study such details. These small imperfections, rather than reducing a coin's interest, often increase it within the numismatic community because they reveal the behind-the-scenes process of how coins were manufactured during that era. In the end, the 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent serves as a reminder that every coin has a story to tell, connecting ordinary daily transactions with the broader narrative of American history. From the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse to the detailed image of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, this small copper coin reflects the artistry, craftsmanship, and heritage of United States coinage. Whether it is discovered in pocket change or preserved in a carefully curated collection, the 1972 D penny continues to capture the curiosity of collectors around the world. For some it may remain just a simple 1-cent coin, but for others it represents a fascinating piece of history that could hold surprising value and inspire a lifelong interest in coin collecting. Next up in the 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent begins in the historic minting facilities of the United States Mint, specifically at the Denver Mint, where the small D mint mark beneath the date quietly tells collectors where this coin was born. At first glance, it may appear to be an ordinary penny, the same kind that millions of Americans carried in their pockets during the 1960s, but for collectors and coin enthusiasts, the 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent holds a fascinating place in American numismatic history. Featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, this coin reflects not only the artistry of American coin design, but also a powerful symbol of national heritage. During the mid-1960s, the United States was going through an important transitional era, and coins like this one were silently circulating through grocery stores, bus fares, and daily transactions, all while carrying a legacy that would later spark interest among collectors around the world. Today, many people overlook pennies entirely, yet hidden among old jars and forgotten drawers could be coins like the 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent that hold both historical value and, in certain rare cases, surprising monetary worth. The design of the 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent follows the classic style first introduced decades earlier with the Lincoln Cent, a coin that revolutionized American currency by featuring a real historical figure rather than symbolic imagery. The obverse proudly displays the detailed portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design created by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose initials VB became famous among collectors. Surrounding Lincoln's profile are the words "In God We Trust" at the top, Liberty on the left, and the date 1964 on the right, with the small d mint mark beneath it indicating the Denver origin. On the reverse side, the coin features the elegant Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Remarkably, if you look closely at the center of the memorial building on the reverse, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue inside, making this one of the few coins in the world to depict the same person on both sides of the coin. This intricate artistic detail gives the coin a unique place in the world of numismatics. During 1964, the United States produced an enormous number of pennies due to a nationwide coin shortage that had caused panic among the public. As a result, the Denver Mint struck over 3 billion Lincoln cents that year, making the 1964 D one of the most heavily produced pennies in American history. At first, this massive production meant the coin had little collectible value because it was so common. However, over the decades, collectors have discovered that not all 1964 D pennies are the same. Differences in condition, striking quality, and rare minting errors have turned some of these seemingly ordinary coins into highly sought-after collectibles. Coins preserved in pristine condition, especially those graded in high mint state by professional grading services, can fetch impressive prices compared to their humble 1-cent face value. This transformation from everyday pocket change to collectible treasure is one of the reasons coin collecting continues to fascinate people around the world. One of the most exciting aspects of the 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent is the possibility of rare mint errors that can dramatically increase a coin's value. Mint errors occur when something unusual happens during the striking process, such as doubled images, off-center strikes, die cracks, or unusual metal planchets. These small mistakes create unique variations that collectors actively search for, turning an otherwise ordinary penny into a potentially valuable discovery. For example, certain doubled die varieties from the 1960s have gained legendary status among collectors because they show noticeable doubling in the letters or numbers on the coin. Even subtle variations in color, luster, and strike quality can make a difference in how collectors evaluate the coin. The thrill of finding one of these rare variations in a simple coin jar or old collection is what keeps many enthusiasts carefully examining every penny they encounter. Another factor that determines the value of a 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent is its condition, which collectors often describe using the grading scale developed by the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company. Coins that have circulated for decades usually show wear, scratches, and dull surfaces, making them worth only their face value. However, coins that were preserved immediately after minting can retain their original mint luster, sharp details, and vibrant reddish color. These high-grade coins, sometimes graded as MS-65, MS-66, or even higher, can sell for significantly more in the collector's market. A brilliant red example with exceptional quality might command dozens, or even hundreds of dollars, depending on the demand among collectors. The difference between a worn penny and a perfectly preserved one can be dramatic, which is why professional grading has become such an important part of modern coin collecting. The metal composition of the 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent also adds to its historical interest. Like other pennies produced before 1982, this coin was made primarily of copper, containing about 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. This gives the coin its warm reddish color when freshly minted, a color collectors refer to as red copper. Over time, exposure to air and moisture can cause the coin to darken into brown or chocolate tones, which is why truly bright red examples are far more desirable among collectors. The weight, texture, and metallic composition of these older copper pennies make them feel noticeably different from modern pennies, which are made mostly of zinc with only a thin copper coating. For many collectors, holding a pre-1982 copper cent like the 1964 D is like holding a small piece of tangible history from a very different era of American currency. The popularity of the Lincoln cent series has also played a huge role in keeping interest alive in coins like the 1964 D Lincoln Memorial Cent. Since its introduction in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the Lincoln cent has become one of the longest-running coin designs in the world. Generations of collectors have built complete sets of Lincoln pennies, searching for every date and mint mark combination ever produced. Within those collections, the 1964 D penny often serves as a reminder of the last years before major changes in U.S. coinage during the mid-1960s, when rising metal prices forced the government to remove silver from many circulating coins. Even though the penny itself remained copper at the time, it still represents a fascinating period of economic and historical transition in the United States. In recent years, online marketplaces and coin auctions have brought renewed attention to older coins, including the 1964 D Lincoln Memorial Cent. Collectors frequently browse through rolls of pennies, estate collections, and coin jars hoping to discover rare varieties or high-grade examples that others might have overlooked. Videos, online forums, and coin-collecting communities often share stories of people discovering valuable pennies in everyday change, fueling excitement and curiosity among beginners and experienced collectors alike. While most 1964 D pennies are still worth only a cent, the possibility that a rare variety or pristine specimen might appear keeps collectors searching. This sense of mystery and discovery is one of the reasons the world of coin collecting continues to grow in popularity. So the next time you come across an old penny dated 1964 with a tiny D mint mark, take a moment to look at it more closely, because it might be more than just a simple piece of spare change. One fascinating aspect of the 1964 D Lincoln Memorial Cent that many collectors love to explore is the possibility of finding rare varieties that were created during the minting process. Even though billions of these coins were struck at the Denver Mint, small differences in the dies used to produce them sometimes resulted in unique variations that are highly sought after today. Some collectors search carefully for doubled lettering, repunched mint marks, or small die cracks that can appear in the words Liberty or In God We Trust. These tiny details may seem insignificant to an untrained eye, but to experienced numismatists they can transform an ordinary penny into a collectible treasure. Stories circulate within the coin collecting community about people discovering rare varieties hidden in old coin rolls or family collections, proving that even decades later, the hunt for unusual 1964 D pennies is still alive and exciting. The coin serves as a small tribute to Lincoln's ideals of freedom, equality, and perseverance. Even though millions of these pennies were produced and spent in everyday life, each one carries the same symbolic representation of American history and leadership. For collectors, this historical meaning often adds just as much value as the coin's monetary worth.